Hi, Adam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. Boy, another children's book author. I'll tell you, I've been having a few of them recently, and I'm learning to interview you guys just a little different than if you were writing some deep novel or a trilogy with a prequel and all that, which is also very fascinating. I find that with children's authors, we don't really talk about the plot all that much. It's more about the feeling and the reason behind it and the messaging. I've come to learn, and in fact, I'm completely enthralled with children's books because now I feel like doing one myself after interviewing so many of you. And we're going to talk about six books of yours, I believe. The latest one is Sinister Shorts.
Yep, that's correct. Sinister Shorts was my latest book.
Okay. But before we do that, and especially in your case, I really want to know what makes you tick. Who are you? What do you do for a living? Do you have children? I know you're in England, but tell us more about yourself.
Yes, I'm an author. I've been always been interested in telling stories, made up games since I was a very young child. I never really thought of writing a book until I was at least 12 years old, and that was when I started to learn how to read and write. Being dyslexic, I never really, I could never really read any books or anything, so they never really interested me like how they did with my mum and sister. But when I started learning, I knew that I wanted to inspire other children, just how I was inspired.
Okay. So do you have children of your own?
I know,
Okay.
no, I haven't got no children. I've
Okay.
got a niece and nephew who keep me on my feet.
That's good. And do you read any of your books to them?
Um, my nephew's a bit too old now. He probably looks at where he probably reads one of my books when no one's looking.
All right.
My niece, she's very much like enjoys reading my books and yeah, and telling me little hints and points and stuff about them and giving me advice and stuff, which I always appreciate.
Of course. They would be the specialists in that.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. Now, Sinister Shorts, what age group is that for?
Yeah, Sinister Shorts is it's kind of like my first step into middle grade, and it's literally for children age 80 years, 9 plus. It is kind of like inspired a lot by the Goosebumps books, what helped me to which I enjoyed reading, and I wanted to do my own little collection of horror stories. So it is literally my first step into the middle grade territory, and it's something I've really enjoyed doing.
So, how long is Sinister Shorts if it's for slightly older kids? How long would it be?
It's a collection of 15 short stories. So, and these stories kind of like I have tried to keep them as short as possible.
Hmm.
So, children or a parent can read them just about every bedtime. One or two of them have lingered on a few pages, but it should be there's a variety of collection of length, so it should be something what children can devour during the night, hopefully, or during the day, hopefully
Okay.
in school as well.
Yeah, it's always amazing how children like to be scared, As long as it's fun, they just enjoy being spooked and scared. The cover's interesting. Where did you come up with that idea?
Well, that was my illustrator. I wanted to, even though it was a middle grade book, I wanted to have a few little black and white pictures in it. When I grew up, my mum used to read these books, ghost stories, called La Armada Ghost Books, and I think there was 15 of them in collection, and like every now and then I had the one little tiny illustration, and I wanted to do that for Sinister Shorts, and I managed to find my illustrator by accident on Facebook, and she is someone from Scotland, so she helped me with one of the stories which was based in Scotland, which was a extra bonus for me.
Hmm.
But I had a few ideas of what I wanted, and so I told her that, and she did she did a brilliant job. Some of the pictures I had no idea on, and she kind of like gave me some ideas. For the front cover, it was her idea to do the little boy with a book in bed, and I thought she did a fantastic job on that.
Right. Excellent. So you got a kind of a team going. Did you edit it yourself, or how does that work when you write a children's book?
With me, I always get my family, they're my first kind of like beta readers. They always like having a read through it.
Yeah.
Once they tell me it's all smoothed out, I tried my best to correct any spelling mistakes or anything else I've got in there. Or if my mum says, oh, that doesn't sound quite right, I'll remove it. I do send up to an editor. I've worked with the same editor for a few years now, and he's always been very fantastic and truthful in what he thinks works and what doesn't, and he always double checks
Mhm.
everything.
Right. I get the impression from speaking to so many of you who write children's stories that there's quite a bit of money that needs to be invested in this. And even when you do get the book out, you have to choose the better quality paper so that the illustrations pop, the colors look good. It's not like writing a fiction. Does it cost you a lot of money to do this?
Yes, I mean it is a very expensive job to be in. I mean, I have to do I have to be an author part time. The other part time, I'm working in a retail job, and I do enjoy that. I like to spend full time doing what I do because I do love what I do. But sadly, it does it does cost a lot of money. But
Hmm.
if you want the best, you have to invest in the best. I
Yes.
mean, illustrations. I know there's a lot of concerns at the moment with AI and people kind of like employing kind of like other people from overseas who do it a lot cheaper, but they've not been happy with the work they get returned. So with me, I have to invest in whatever I can, and the illustrators I've been lucky I've worked with, they've always helped me as much as I can, and they literally they do a great job.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
really fault what they do. They do a fantastic job. They
Yeah.
brought some of the characters I see into the page, and for that, I'm very grateful for them.
So when you're talking to your illustrator and you have a character in mind, how much conversations between you and the illustrator, like discussing like what the character should look like, the hair, the face, the body shape, and all that. How does that work?
Um, it can be quite tough and challenging sometimes. When I did my Faraday Bear and Friends book series, I knew I had a picture in my mind of what some of the characters looked like, what they were dressed, but some of them were a complete blank. So Ian and I were kind of like passing emails backwards and forwards, saying, "How about he has this color T-shirt? How about this one?" And some of them took it took quite ages, but some of the characters, I hate to say, I could not clothe them. I did not know
Mm.
what they looked like, and at one time, to about when was about halfway through, I thought, no, it has to. I wasn't quite happy with that. I said to Ian, I said, no, he's got to have something else.
Mm.
So once we got there, it was perfect.
Excellent. Yeah. That's not something I concern myself with. I write fiction, fantasy, and of course I try and describe what my characters are like, but I imagine it would be difficult to, if I put it into an illustrator's mind. Yeah, I can see that that would take quite a while and it can really start adding up in cost as well.
Gosh, yeah.
So when did you write this book and when was it published?
Goodbye, Mother Bear took a few years to get going. It was a subject not many children books dived into, and I was a bit concerned about how people would react. But it took a bit of time for it to get going. Took me a few years just to get perfect, and then I sent it up to my editor, and I was absolutely terrified of what he would say, but he came back with up very good remarks. And then obviously I looked for an illustrator, and it it took a bit of time because I also went to a designer to get the book as best quality as possible. So I spoke to a lady called Stephanie. She took it. She rearranged the book so it looked a lot more better than how I originally planned it. So it took about, I suppose, 3 or 4 years for the idea to come into my head and for it to be published.
Okay. All right. And that's for Sinister Shorts. When was it published?
That took roughly about 2 years before that came out. I believe
Well,
it was last year. I think last year it came out now. So my brain's gone a bit
about a year
foggy.
ago.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that took a few years, but there was quite a few collections of stories. I had 15 short stories.
Right.
Some of them kind of like wrote themselves on the page. I started with the first word, and then before I knew it, had finished. Some of them were a bit of a nightmare. I just lost the plot halfway through, or the characters were not adding up, or I was not happy
Mhm.
with what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I just put them aside. After a few months, I picked them up, tried again, and some of them literally got better. Some of them did not. So it took a few more months until they started coming together. But by the time I got the 15 done and designed and edited, it was. And then I went into Illustrate, and that took about, I suppose, 6 months to get the illustrations.
Um,
She was very good, and she was very quick at what she did. And we had a Zoom meeting, and she was kind of like there with a notepad, jotting down ideas and all that. So she was very good and literally very quick.
wow. You have to be really patient when you're doing stuff like this. That sounds like a long time, but as you say, good things take a while. Let's move on to the book Goodbye, Mother Bear.
Oh yeah.
What's that all about?
Um, as I mentioned earlier, that was a very hard book to do. It's about a an 8-year-old bear. He loses his mum. She dies, and he's going through bereavement and grief. Uh, l- l- I've always wanted to do a book series about a group of animal friends, much like some of the books I used to read, like the Get Along Gang, Rupert Bear, and there was a cartoon called Arthur.
Yeah.
They were all about little animal friends who went on adventures. I wanted to do something like that. Originally, Goodbye Mother Bear was going to be a standalone book, but I thought Faraday, I really liked his character, and I thought if I did book number one and then did a follow on, it will help children who have been in similar situation, who've lost a parent or who have lost a family member, or even someone close to them. They know that, life does go on, but things do get slightly better, and you always carry that person. I think with Faraday, children have read that he's gone through a very hard time, but they'll follow his adventures in other stories. It got picked up by a newspaper, the Daily Express, what we have in London. They did a small article on it, and it's been sold in Waterstones, one of our big
Oh, yeah.
bookshops.
Okay. All right.
And I think I can say that it's been very well received. There's been a lot of other books since then who have gone on to talking about grief and bereavement for children, and I think it is good. I know it's a bit of a not one of the better subjects to talk or write about, but it's an important
Yeah.
one to discuss.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you happen to have the book there with you?
I have, yes.
I would love to see some of those illustrations.
Of course you can. I mean, the illustrations were done by Ian R. Ward. He's a illustrator based in Nottingham. Wonderful. That is that is Faraday. He's sitting with his best friend, Jack. Jack was the last character I created. He was based on a character called Bill from the Rupert Bear uh, books, what my dad used to collect. He's been going for a long time, and so he was the last character I created based on him. And I've got some of the other characters there. There's Charmer, the cat. There's Flint. And this is an interesting picture. How Faraday is dressed, that was what he originally was going to look like all through the book, but I changed him into something a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, in other pictures of
So
Faraday seems a little sad, but that one he's smiling. So,
he is, yeah, he's keeping quite busy in that one.
mhm.
But that picture contains all of his friends with Mandy Mouse, Spike Hedgehog.
So
So
Faraday
he's
has
got
a support system of sort. He has all these friends to
he
help him.
has, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
They each got a story to tell as well. So there's more books that will be coming featuring Faraday, plus all of his friends. They all got a story to tell. They all
Excellent.
got their own little problem what needs to be discussed.
Just like real life.
And that's it.
So what shall we talk about now? Oh, the big and the little monster books. Like, I think you have two of those. They sound interesting.
There is actually three of them, but one of them's out of print, sadly.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but so this is the second. This is the second one, and this is my actual second book. And as you can see, I had a little illustrator called Wendy Trinder who did the illustrations, and I learned a lot from her. She did a fantastic job, and they came out quite bright and colourful.
A very different style from the one we saw before.
Yep, and this is one of my favourite pictures. Can't beat that sandcastle. But these
Excellent.
were my kind of like very first idea. I've always liked monster books. I used to, there was a book called Not Now Bernard by an author called David McKee, and I've always loved monsters. And I came up with ideas because all the monsters are bad, and I wanted to do some, nice monsters.
Sure.
I mean, when I sold the books, like I said, the monster ones were my first ones. So when I started to do school fairs and events, I only had the two books, and I was absolutely terrified. I was just sat there behind the table and not knowing how to do, too shy to communicate. But speaking to the parents and the teachers and the children, kind of like brought me out the shyness.
Good.
I did learn that monsters are still very popular. There is there is good monsters, or obviously a lot of bad monsters. Um, I am currently writing a book, more of a young adult book that features a bad monster, not a good one, and it is I have tried to do kind of like a mixture of good and bad in my books.
Okay.
I know the world, I mean, the world what we're living in at the moment is not too great. There's a lot of conflict and a lot of stuff going on. And I know at the moment there's a lot going on in England at the moment. There's a lot going on in America. And sometimes people need to escape.
Absolutely.
And I hope my books will give, especially the young children, somewhere to escape to, whether the monsters are good or bad, human or creatures, or whether darkness is in my sinister shorts. I mean, I hope they escape and they get a bit of enjoyment.
In your estimation, what is a good monster? Equivalent to our world. What would you say is a good monster?
Oh, a good monster. I think a good monster is someone or something that will help and help and guide someone, especially if someone is a bit lost. I mean, as I mentioned before, I suffered from dyslexia. I was put in the back of the class and all that, and I needed a bit of help and guidance myself back in those days.
Yeah.
And thankfully, out of the few bad teachers, there was one or two in the mix that helped me, and I'm grateful for them. And I know a few years before COVID came along, I was on I post on Facebook about dyslexics,
Hmm.
and a lot of parents are concerned about their children because they struggle at school, and I think it's a shame that there's still so much of it going on where children, not just with dyslexia, but with any other disability, are still struggling, whether it's at home, school, or at a place of work.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question about your books in general. It's a twofold question. One is how are sales, but almost more importantly, how are your books being received?
Okay, I mean, with sales, I sadly I don't sell as many as David Williams, and yeah, sadly I like to hit 1 million sales. So truthfully, I would, but sadly it doesn't happen. How they are received so far, I've not had no bad reviews. I've had a few bad comments made about me, which every author, sadly, every celebrity, even every person out there receives. But I have had a few. I've had children come up to me thanking me for the books.
Hmm.
I've had even when I've been working at Tesco's, I've had children coming up to me when I've been at work asking if I'm the author who did the monster book or the bear book, and I said yeah, and I said I've really enjoyed it. That fills me with hope. Um, I think with Goodbye Mother Bear, I had one one person who refused to buy the book, which sadly they did say, oh, I see what you mean by doing a book, but sadly I don't want to buy the book. I said that's fine. I said there's a few more here if you would like them instead. So there is always a mixed reviews. There is I think counted children who've not been Monsters fans, so I've not touched my Monster books, but I've always offered other books, a variety of books. So hopefully there should be something there for everybody. Apart from adults, because I haven't done no adult books yet.
I was actually thinking about asking whether you see yourself writing adult books or novels in the future, or is that not in your style at all?
Yes. I mean, I'd be quite happy to give anything a go.
Mhm.
I have I grew up. I read Mr. R. Stein Goosebumps. I read Sean Hudson, Stephen King books, and another author called Matt Shaw, and I've learned a lot from those books. And I would seriously like to do a bit of like to turn my hand at doing some adult books, and it is on the plans for the
Okay.
future. Can't say when about, but at the moment I'm concentrating on a few new projects at the moment, but I'm hoping in the future I will have something for adults.
Okay. What are you working on right now?
I got a new picture book coming out called The Young Mermaid. My niece actually done the illustrations, which I'm very grateful for. And that it should be coming out sometime before Christmas,
Oh,
which
really?
we are very pleased about. Yeah, it's a shame we haven't got no proof copy to show you at the moment, but it's looking stunning. So
Okay.
that's coming out, and I've also been doing another collection for Sinister shorts too.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're busy.
So
That,
I'm keeping quite busy at the
that's
moment.
good. That's good. So, I'm going to put you full frame, and then you could tell the audience about your work, where it could be purchased, and why they should consider buying it for their children.
Okay. Yes, my books can be bought wherever you are in the world, whether you're in England, America, Australia, Canada. My books are available. They can be purchased on Amazon, which is the most quickest and most reliable way of going. I am a supporter of independent shops, so you can. So if you're in England, please do visit your local shop and ask them to order a copy in. Waterstones also accept any of my books, so if you do visit your local Waterstones, and please do ask them to put one aside. I am on social media, so if you do want a signed or personal copy, please do contact me, and I'm quite happy to leave a little message in for you for any of your young horror fans or monster fans out there.
Okay. And I'll make sure to put those links in the description of this video.
Thank you very much.
Adam, it's been wonderful speaking to yet another children's book writer, and you and specifically have been charming, and I've really enjoyed your company. You're welcome
Uh,
back anytime. I love repeat guests. It's like having an old friend come and visit you again. So next year, when I have season 5, I'll give you a call. How's that? You don't have to call me.
okay,
I'll contact you, and you can come back on the show and talk some more about your wonderful work.
I'll be quite happy to. I'm really, I do appreciate you having me on. It's been absolute fantastic.
All right. Well, you take care of yourself and have a nice Christmas.
Thank you very much, John, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, and if you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then I invite you to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment if you wish. And if you are an author, I would sure love to hear from you. Until such time, keep on writing, and remember to be kind to one another.